Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're taking a first look at a brand new Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark has a brand new, never-before-seen typing in Pokemon Go. It is a Ghost Normal type, two types that have unbelievably good defensive synergy. However, before you get too excited, this Pokemon basically has the same stats as Haunter. So it has one of the best typings we've ever seen, but an attack stat that allows it to win CMP over Scizor by over 25 points. So without further ado, let's hop out of the matches, and let's go Hisuian Zoroark. We pick up a terrible lead in the first match, Diggersby into Acid Credilli. The save switch into the Shadow Drapion is going to be unanswered by my opponent, and now Crunch will inflict some very nice damage. This puts the Credilli closer to a range where I can potentially knock it out with the Scorching Sands later. They're going to Rock Tomb, farm up a bunch of energy, go for a Crunch catch onto Primeape, but I hold on to my energy, and now I get to fire off Aqua Tail. These Aqua Tails are debuffed, but even so, they do still add up. So my opponent should be in the red health after this next Aqua Tail lands. They decide to invest in the Primeape, and I pivot back into the Diggersby. Most Primeape I've seen lately have been on Ice Punch, so I'm just not going to respect it here. This one actually does have close combat, but Diggersby can hang on. It shakes off the close combat damage. Opponent actually double shielding the Primeape, and now it's time for Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark is going to go for a one shield farm down here, as close combat would be devastating. They're able to save it and send in Diggersby as their final Pokemon. This is not a good matchup for Hisuian Zoroark. I'm going to look to farm up here. I overfarm one past their move, and we perfectly predict when they'll fire off their energy. They did bait with the Fire Punch, but that is still okay. Hisuian Zoroark taking quite a bit of damage from the double resisted quick attacks. That's how glassy this Pokemon is. It cannot take a hit whatsoever. The things I have to keep in mind is there's a ton of energy loaded on the Primeape. They bring in the Primeape and unfortunately overtap. I think they were only getting one move anyway. In comes Credilli. They were 3 off the move, so we're going to CMP tie them with a Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball KOs Credilli. In comes the Diggersby, and this game will be over as I get to fire off this foul play, and Hisuian Zoroark up 2 shields just completely took over this endgame. The foul play doesn't quite knock out the Diggersby, but I can Shadow Claw down and take the win. We see a negative lead in the next match, Diggersby into Dusclops, but I'm going to get an Ice Punch catch onto Shadow Drapion. I would much rather absorb this energy here and keep the Diggersby healthy. In comes Lapras. Lapras, not a good matchup for Drapion, and honestly not a good matchup for Diggersby either. So my play here is I'm going to have to try and get it a little bit lower, because this isn't really a health range where I can farm down with anything, so I will invest a shield. I know that I'm not going to be able to force alignment here. I just want to try and get them lower to potentially set up a quick attack down or a Shadow Claw down. I'm just going to go straight for the Aqua Tail. My opponent was going to throw one before the Crunch, because this is actually pretty valuable damage for me. Now I can potentially farm down with the Hisuian Zoroark. Any energy advantage that I can get will absolutely be welcomed. So Zoroark is going to get the farm down. What do they have in the back? It's going to be a Drapion, and here's where that loaded Scorching Sands is pivotal. Not only am I guaranteed to force a shield, but I misalign the switch timers. My opponent is going to bank a ton of energy, sending in the Dusclops. Dusclops obviously going to absorb hits from Diggersby, no problem. But what's going to win me this game is the misalignment of the switch timers. I get to fire off the Scorching Sands. My opponent, the moment they throw their next charge move, my switch clock is up, but their switch clock is not yet available. And I was 1 off a move on the Zoroark, so we get to switch into the Zoroark and fire off the foul play. This is non-same type attack bonus. It still almost knocks out. We get the Shadow Claw down. In comes the Drapion, and since we have the Scorching Sands loaded, this game will be a win. They bait with the Aqua Tail, it still almost KOs. That's how glassy this Pokemon is. It cannot take a hit whatsoever. I go for the foul play, back in comes the Diggersby, and throughout the course of this match, Diggersby always having a Scorching Sands loaded was so impactful, because without that, I had no way to win this game. Speaking of no way to win this game, what a miserable lead. Oh my goodness, we are leading Diggersby into Shadow Annihilate. I save switch into the Shadow Drapion, but this matchup is not any better. If my opponent Ice Punches here, it will cleanly knock out. I'm calling a Rage Fist though, because if they Rage Fist, which they do, and I bait with the Aqua Tail, I can actually make a Crunch. So this ends up being a pretty nice trade for me. Here, I'm debating whether I end up quick attacking down with the Diggersby or taking the one Shadow Claw head start on Zoroark. I decide to get the Shadow Claw head start on Zoroark. In comes Diggersby, and this is a really bad spot to be in. I bank a Shadow Ball for later, switch my Diggersby into theirs. They have a Bullet Seed Credilli, and man, I just don't think that I can win this game. My goodness. Having Drapion for their backline would have been pretty nice because Drapion energy is so strong, but unfortunately leading into the Annihilate put me in a really difficult spot. I'm able to land Scorching Sands after Scorching Sands. Them being Bullet Seed is so much worse for me here as well because they're actually able to deal fast move pressure. They are going to grab both shields with the Grass Knots, and I am really struggling to find a way to win this game. In comes their Diggersby. They still have a shield and basically 100 energy stored on their Diggersby. I am down energy, I am down health, I'm down a shield. Unfortunately, this is just looking like a loss. I fire off the Scorching Sands, hoping maybe a debuff will save me, but it will not. A Scorching Sands is going to land. I should make my own Scorching Sands, but now my opponent has a pretty clear path to victory, and that involves just farming me all the way down. And unfortunately, I have to switch out. I have to send in the Zoroark. I have a move banked, but they still have that shield intact, so they're able to shield, fire off the Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands, I believe I can survive, but not by much. I make the foul play. They get a catch onto Credilli. I will undercharge here to try and exit with energy, and I will get a farm down, but if I undercharged any more, I would have just gotten bullet seeded down. Back in comes the Diggersby, and they're not going to let me get that foul play. All things considered, for how terrible the alignment was in this game, I feel like I made it as close as I could, but my goodness, that was really tough. We have an opposing Hisui Zoroark on the lead in the next match. I bait with a Fire Punch, they catch onto a Shadow Gligar, and my goodness, am I ever happy that I baited. This matchup is a win in the Zero Shield for Shadow Gligar, just going straight Aerial Ace. But obviously, I'm super far ahead on energy, and I've already landed a Fire Punch, so now I can just win alignment and then put the Zoroark eventually onto my Drapion. They go for the dig, I'll overfarm ever so slightly, and just pick up the knockout with the Fire Punch. Fire Punch is going to KO the Gligar. They still do have energy on the Zoroark. In comes the Zoroark. Can I survive a foul play here? Zoroark has an insane attack stat. Foul play. Oh my goodness, Diggersby. The 1 HP survive, barely hanging on, forcing a shield with the Scorching Sands, and we get an attack drop. That attack drop is very fortunate because even a resisted Shadow Ball will completely destroy Drapion. Keep in mind, this is a -1 Shadow Ball doing that much damage. In the back is Tinkaton, and I was too slow on the switch out here. I needed to switch sooner because Zoroark being down energy, I really cannot afford to let any charge move land. Even a Bulldoze would do a lot, so I will commit the shield. The only way I outpace is with a bait, so I'm going to go for the foul play bait now. Foul play into the Tinkaton. He calls the bait. What a read. I'm going to go for another foul play now. This should be grabbing the final shield, and then I can snipe with the energy on the Drapion. It all comes down to this. Does Aqua Tail knock out? And it does knock out the Tinkaton. In comes Zoroark. I think I could have KO'd with the Aqua Tail there, but I'm guaranteeing the knockout with the Crunch. Down goes Zoroark, and we're able to escape with a win. Gligar returns in the next match. This time it is on the lead. I know that I do lose the Zero Shield matchup here, but I can potentially set up farm down for one of my back mons, as in the Zeros, Gligar does get pretty low. Oh, Gligar just made a massive mistake. They throw on alignment, and suddenly Diggersby will win the Zeros. And they throw on alignment again. 2 alignment throws. I don't know if their internet is just giving out on them or what, but now I just win the Zeros because normally Gligar wins this by winning charge attack priority on the 3rd move, but now they just won't win charge attack priority because they don't have the energy because they gave me 2 free quick attacks. So I'm able to win the Zeros, which is great. In comes Drapion. This is a huge problem. I'm going to send in my own Drapion, and realistically I should have done 3 and swapped there. Doing 4 and switch is a pretty massive error because I'm always going to be behind my opponent in terms of energy and behind a whole charge move. So immediately, that's a huge error by me and will probably just immediately cost me the game on the spot. Obviously, I don't know what they have in back yet, but that's a pretty monumental mistake. Also, losing charge attack priority in the Drapion mirror is extremely painful. The Aqua Tail does not knock out, which is very good news for me. I fire off this Aqua Tail. They're going to let it go. In the back is going to be a Shadow Feraligatr, and unfortunately, yeah, this game is just going to be a loss. Had I switched sooner into the Drapion mirror, I think I would have been pretty fine, because then I wouldn't have had to go down a shield, and if I'm not down a shield, I'm in a pretty okay position in the endgame. But unfortunately here, there's just not a way to win unless I make a miraculous catch, and realistically, the odds of that happening are not super great. I send in the Diggersby. I'm just going to fire off the Fire Punch just to burn the switch timer. I'm going to assume that they overfarm by 1 and throw, so I farm up, and they end up waiting the turn. It looks like their game did visually update, and they're able to knock me out with the Hydro Cannon and take the win. Man, if I played that mid-game better, I think there's a lot better chance for me to fight back. Great lead in the next match, Diggersby into Shadow Scizor. Scizor just gonna throw a Night Slash. This is an interesting play from my opponent as it guarantees that they get some damage onto the Diggersby, because obviously I don't have an incentive to shield the Night Slash. So now my Diggersby is quite a bit lower. I'm gonna farm up watching for a catch. There is the catch attempt onto Lapras. I'm able to hold on to my energy and now send in the Shadow Drapion. Drapion being down energy is absolutely terrible for Drapion in this matchup, but I'm very okay soft losing this in exchange for a massive Zoroark farm, because Zoroark we know is gonna win charge attack priority over everything. To my surprise, my opponent actually lets me get this crunch, and then I realize they don't care about Lapras. They just want farm on Shadow Scizor. Scizor is going to get the farm down. I bring in the Diggersby, and they didn't react in time. Oh no, now I just get a free shield because my opponent didn't fire off their energy to force the shield back. So that's actually quite beneficial for me. I get the Fire Punch. They catch on a Jellicent. Oh no, this poor Jellicent. And Jellicent is about to meet Hisuian Zoroark. Hisuian Zoroark just absolutely shredding with Shadow Claws. I can probably live a Surf, but I don't want to risk it because, yes, it is that glassy. We are talking Haunter level bulk. Anything knocks this Pokemon out. So I have the back-to-back foul plays loaded. Even if Scizor had a move, it would not matter because Zoroark wins CMP by like 25 over Scizor, and we're able to take the win. We've got a pretty nice lead for me in the next match, Diggersby versus Diggersby. Now, obviously, my back line is catastrophically weak to Diggersby, so very happy to catch it on the lead. They Scorching Sands. I overfarmed here because I didn't want to reveal who won charge attack priority in the mirror. I'm going to wait until the final charge attack to do so. Fortunately, I did not get debuffed there. I'm going to no shield again as they fire off the Scorching Sands. This Scorching Sands does get the debuff, so a bit of good luck does go my opponent's way. I'm now going for Scorching Sands number 2, but this will not do nearly as much damage. I make it to a third Scorching Sands. This Scorching Sands will not pick up the knockout. My opponent will be able to hang on due to that debuff, and now they save switch into an Air Slash Mandibuzz. Oh, this is really not good. Air Slash Mandibuzz absolutely destroys Hisuian Zoroark. I'm forced to bring in the Drapion, but my goodness, I'm in so much trouble. I'm going to farm up to exactly 100 energy, and then let's start spamming out these Aqua Tails. I can consistently do one sting and a tail, one sting and a tail, again and again and again, just chipping away at my opponent. At this point, they're going to have high incentive to throw one Air Slash and the move. So my counterplay to this is one sting and a catch onto Diggersby. Diggersby was super low and energy dry, so very okay with Diggersby being basically the third shield in this match. Back in comes the Drapion, going for the Aqua Tail right away. My opponent commits the shield. They're going to farm down, and this is so bad. I send in Zoroark. I can't get the Shadow Claw down. I'm forced to burn a shield, and this is terrible. In comes the Diggersby. They already got one Scorching Sands debuff. Will they get another? I will commit the shield. Scorching Sands comes through, no debuff, and I will get the farm down. I'm down a shield, but I have so much energy. What are they going to have in the back? They've already had such bulky picks. They have Dragalge as their final Pokemon, and I think I need to bait here to outpace the Outrage. The foul play bait does get the shield. Opponent does not go for the Outrage. They go for the Aqua Tail, but I'm so frail this might knock out. Zoroark barely hangs on. I need this Shadow Ball to one-shot. Come on, Hisuian Zoroark, Shadow Ball, one-hit KO. In comes the Mandibuzz. We Shadow Claw down, and what a win. Hopping into the final match, and it's Gligar returning one final time. I'm going to fire off this Fire Punch just to try and get some damage on this Pokemon because my backline, not really a big fan of Gligar. I did end up seeing quite a few Gligar leads, so I tried to cut it down to the most entertaining battles. Here, I'm going to be met with the Feraligatr. I think my best play is just to let this go, because I can just bring in Hisuian Zoroark and win charge attack priority with the foul play, but not if I one-turn lag. Oh my goodness, game, please. Now I'm missing a Shadow Claw. In this moment, my opponent should be down a shield. Instead, they're actually ahead by a shield because I wasn't able to get that CMP tie. I foul play, they're going to end up committing the shield, and I will just look for the full farm down with Zoroark. Even with the game not working, still tried my best. In comes the Gligar, and Gligar will be met with the foul play. They are pretty close to the aerial ace. It's going to be a race to the move, and they do outpace me. So they will get to pick up the knockout. They should be fully energy dry, which means I can bring in the Drapion. I'm going to overfarm by 1 and pick up the KO with the Aqua Tail. I really have to hope that Drapion's energy will hit for super effective on something in the back. That's what's needed here. The Drapion is still very healthy. What is that final Pokemon? And that's something I can win against. It's Jellicent. Jellicent is going to attempt a catch onto Feraligatr. They do not get it, and we are going to escape with a win. Oh my goodness, crunch number 1 and crunch number 2 on the charge attack priority tie. That will KO Jellicent. And even despite the one-turn lag in the mid-game, we're able to take home the win. All in all, Hisuian Zoroark to me, it is the epitome of a glass cannon. It is by no means a serious Pokemon for climbing in the Go Battle League. We know Pokemon like Haunter with Haunter level stats are not really playable. It does have one of the best possible defensive typings. Ghost plus Normal is an absolutely absurd combination, with Normal being able to cancel out the weakness to Ghost, so you actually take resisted damage from Ghost, and the Ghost subtyping canceling out the weakness to Fighting, where Fighting is single resisted as well. Even with that amazing defensive typing, with how bad its bulk is, even if you are resisting a move like Counter or resisting Ghost moves like we saw in that Feraligatr matchup, Zoroark was still getting shredded by those resisted Shadow Claws just due to the fact that it has absolutely no bulk to speak of. But I feel like for how poorly the stats translate into Pokemon Go, they did a pretty solid job with giving it a workable moveset. I don't think this is ever a Mon that we're going to see competitively, but at the very least, they did a nice job with giving it a fun moveset, as Foul Play Shadow Ball has pretty nice synergy overall. It is 10-turn pacing, which is really nice if you're very frail, and Shadow Ball is basically a delete button for anything that doesn't have a Ghost resist. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying content like this, please do consider leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.